Major Garrett.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Allow me, if you will, to quote the Supreme Leader directly.
Yes.
United States activity since the announcement of the framework has been deceptive, it is lying, it is devilish. And on two particular points, he said, direct quotes, Iran's military sites cannot be inspected under the excuse of nuclear supervision, and all sanctions should be removed when the deal is signed. Is it your opinion, Mr. President, that this is pure posturing and it should be disregarded by your government and by you and your Secretary of State? And if so, could you help me understand to whom the Supreme Leader would be posturing? Because under my limited understanding of Iranian politics, that's not a job description usually applied to the Supreme Leader.
That was a well-crafted question, Major. And let me just suggest that even a guy with the title Supreme Leader has to be concerned about his own constituencies. And the issue is not whether I have to take his word for whether that's his understanding, because we've got work until the end of June to see if we've got a document that works. And if that is his understanding and his position in ways that can't be squared with our concern about being able to embark on vigorous inspections to assure that Iran isn't cheating under any program, and that we don't have the capacity to snap back sanctions when we see a potential violation, then we're probably not going to get a deal. So, you know, part of the concern that I have in this debate here, Major, is I don't understand why it is that everybody's working so hard to anticipate failure. The opponents of the deal don't seem to be focused on how do we get to a good deal as much as they're focused on how can we show that it's not possible to get a good deal. And my simple point is, let's wait and see what the deal is. And we'll be able to look. And if, in fact, we're not satisfied that it cuts off the pathways for Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon, then we won't sign it. If, on the other hand, it does, then I will strongly argue, and I believe the American people will support and the international community will support, that it's far preferable to the other alternatives. Now, Major, it's not going to be perfect in the sense that, you know, if you asked Prime Minister Netanyahu or some members of the Republican caucus, or even some Democrats, if you asked me, would I prefer that Iran never did have, will never have even a single nut, bolt, anything related to nuclear power, don't have any nuclear scientists, don't have any capacity to develop it, that'd be great. But that's not possible. That's not achievable. That's not achievable through sanctions. It's not achievable through military means. They're going to have some form of peaceful nuclear power, and that will then pose a challenge for the international community, which is why the political agreement calls for unprecedented framework of inspections that allows us to assure that it's not being used or diverted in ways that could be weaponized. But we're going to have to see whether or not we can get a deal or not. My only question is why we keep on trying to short-circuit the actual negotiations. When they're, we're not disarming. We're not getting rid of our nuclear weapons. We're not getting rid of our Navy. We're not giving anything up. We are simply waiting to see what it is that the negotiators come up with, and if, in fact, we are able to come up with something that works, then we'll know. And you know, with respect to the Supreme Leader, yes, it's a pretty important title. It's, you know, seems a little more clear-cut than president. On the other hand, there may be ways of structuring a final deal that satisfy their pride, their optics, their politics, but meet our core practical objectives. And that's what we've got to give the negotiators room to determine.